that's what was taught to me. I talk about them because that's all I knew at that point in time in my life. I talk about them because when I grew up, that's what it was. That's what I saw in front of me. It was like all the, the dudes was hustling, or they was, in jail, or they was gang banging, or you feel what I'm saying, they was dying at a young age. A lot of the women were struggling to take care of the kids, or they were strung out on drugs, or they were prostitutes and stuff like that. I lived on McDonough Street. If you go down there now, Johns Hopkins and a lot of other investors bought that up and like gentrified that community. But when I lived down there, it looked like a banner house, a banner house, a banner house. Somebody live here, somebody live here, a banner house, a banner house. And we lived in those abandoned homes. You feel what I'm saying? And those were our houses. Like, we lived in them. A lot of those people lost those homes, but they never moved out of them. Okay. You feel me? Okay. So when I lived down there, it was a lot of abandoned properties. It was a lot of drug, use. It was a lot of violence, a lot of crime. And being a young kid, that's how we grew up. I remember being a young fella, wheeling bikes, not going to school. Mattresses in the street, we, backflip competitions, not going to school, flipping off gates. School wasn't important to us because that's not what we knew as success. That's not what we knew as everyday life. When you wake up and go to sleep to a community in a block in a neighborhood where nobody really cared about school, everybody talking about, the chains, the cars, you know what I'm saying, the music, the drug game, we thought that's what we were supposed to be. So that's what my inspiration was at the time. How I eventually got, out of that atmosphere was my mother got high with all of her children. And it started to begin to be documented that all of her children were born, sick or drug addicted, or they had some type of issues or premature or stuff like that. So once the hospitals documented it, they started doing home visits. Okay. So we would hide, you feel what I'm saying? They would come knock on the door, look for my mother. We didn't go to school. They would send the police looking for us. We'd hide. We'd be in the house, but we'd hide. But eventually the system caught up with her. My mother lost all her children when I was 13. Oh, okay. So at the age of 13, myself and all my siblings, we went into the system.